The story is quite unusual, where relationships were not just formed through emotions, but were somehow tied together by mysterious red lines. It all began with a girl named Sin, who looked like a normal girl but possessed an extraordinary ability that she could see red lines floating above people's heads. One day, as she stood by her window, she was observing those red lines passing over people's heads, each one symbolizing someone's relationship. That's when she spotted a girl whose head had multiple red lines branching out. The girl smiled at her and waved hello. Sin, completely freaked out, slammed the window shut. In a flashback, when she was a little girl, she noticed 2 red lines on his head. She drew this in her book, and her mother also noticed it and was shocked. That was the moment she found out her husband was having an affair. This truth pushed the mother to kill him, and from then on, Sin realized that her power could potentially ruin lives. She then chose to lock herself inside a room, stopped talking to anyone, and avoided all human contact. Sin was sinking into depression and even tried to end her life more than once by jumping off a roof or stabbing herself, but each time she mysteriously healed, as if nothing ever happened. These incidents made her wonder if she was meant for something more, possibly a mission. She made up her mind to uncover the secret of the S-lines, to find out what they really were, and whether it was possible to break free from them. Around that time, the same girl who waved at her earlier appeared at her gate with some fruits, wanting to give them to Sin. But Sin didn't open the gate. The girl quietly left the fruits outside. Later, Sin opened the door, brought the fruits inside, and as she began eating, it looked like she was tasting food after several days. She chewed like a person who just broke up with intermittent fasting and made up with mangoes. The scene then shifted to a police officer named Hanji, who was at the station talking to a colleague about how arrogant his niece was and how she never listened or even replied properly. The next scene showed a girl named Young on a school rooftop, beating someone up, and it turned out to be Hanji's niece Suri. Young was threatening her, demanding money. On the other hand, Hanji was gathering details about a case involving the death of a girl. At the scene, he found a hotel delivery box and got the hint that food was ordered before the murder. Another detective mentioned that someone saw a man in a helmet leaving the building late at night, likely a delivery driver. Hanji came back to the police station with Detective Dongsik, who mentioned that there was no sign of theft and the money was untouched. Hanji asked if the food delivery guy had been checked. Dongsik said that the girl often ordered food but didn't order anything on the night she died. When Hanji asked about her relationships, Dongsik revealed that she had gone through a breakup a year ago and remained single since. Meanwhile, Sin was watching the murder news on TV. The helmeted suspect caught her attention. When she saw only one S-lane above his head, she was stunned because that was extremely rare. Suddenly, she noticed a man wearing a helmet entering the building across from hers. His appearance and behavior matched the suspect exactly. Panicking, she called the police and informed them that a stranger in a helmet had just entered the building. But when she realized it was just a couple, a boyfriend and girlfriend, she cut the call midway. Suddenly, everything around her then turned pitch black, and she saw red S-lines glowing all around her, as if the universe itself was giving her a serious warning. Back at school, Young was saying that Suri hadn't shown up that day. She broke open Suri's locker and began pulling things out, mocking her after finding a love letter. Hanji, back at home, was approached by his niece Suri asking for money again. Without much fuss, he took out his wallet, gave her everything inside, and said she could come back the next day for more. When he asked her why she needed so much cash, Suri responded arrogantly and walked inside. Hanji stepped onto the balcony and looked toward Sin's building, remembering that a call had come from there the previous night. Soon, Hanji arrived at Sin's door. Sin was shocked to see multiple S-lines emerging from his head. Hanji asked if she knew anything. A neighbor joined the conversation, claiming that Sin never stepped outside, not even to throw out the trash. Just then, Sin opened the door and admitted she made a mistake, saying that the guy was the girl's lover, before quietly closing the door again. The scene then cuts to the real helmeted man entering the same building. Sin spotted him and stepped out holding a knife, but due to weakness, she collapsed. Still, she pushed herself to get back up because deep down, she knew something terrible was about to happen. Meanwhile, the girl mistook the helmeted man for her boyfriend. But when he took the helmet off, it was revealed he was the real killer, Jung Wee-min, who could also see the S-lines. He started choking the girl. Just in time, Sin arrived and tried to save her, but Jung snatched the knife and was about to attack Sin when Sin was left terrified. Hanji handed her the glasses she dropped. She asked who the man was. Henji said he would tell her everything, but just then, his niece Suri showed up. Suri looked at Sin and asked what she was doing there. Henji asked both of them if they knew each other. Later, they were seen back at home. Suri asked Henji when he would give her more money. Hanji jokingly asked if he looked like an ATM. Then he asked if everything was fine at school and told her to tell him if there was any problem. Suri sarcastically asked since when he started caring. Hanji then asked her about Sin. Suri revealed that Sin used to be her classmate in middle school, but one day she disappeared. Her mother had killed her father, and after that, Sin ran away. In the next scene, Sin was sitting on the edge of a building, saying to herself that if saving people this way was possible, then she would dedicate herself to doing just that from now on. He later received a message saying that the sender could also see red lines just like her, and he told her to come meet at Ark High School. The next morning, the scene shifted to the female lead, who turned out to be a teacher named Jimin, teaching at the same Ark High School. Sin was at her house, looking at the same message, and then she began cleaning her room. She even wiped down her windows and removed the posters stuck on them, almost as if she was preparing for a surprise government inspection. At school, some girls were writing mean things about Suri when she reached school. Young began reading a letter that belonged to Suri, and when Suri tried to stop her, Young fell down and then started beating her up. Their teacher arrived just in time and pulled Young away. Jimin was then talking to Suri, telling her she shouldn't behave like this and tried to stop her from fighting. Suri, still furious, said she would kill her and asked if she could go home. On her way out, she looked inside her locker, saw the glasses inside, and picked them up. Meanwhile, Hanji was telling Dongshik that he had managed to survive repeatedly because of him, otherwise the killer would have completely finished him off. Hanji then arrived at the killer's house, where red lines were spread out all over the place. At home, Suri was wearing the glasses and could see the lines through them. Hanji also arrived there, and the moment Suri saw him, she noticed a bunch of S lines on his head. She got frightened and quickly left. Sin, watching her leave, sensed something unusual. Suri was in the market, noticing lines on everyone, and slowly began to understand what they meant. The next morning at school, she appeared very cheerful because of the glasses. She saw Young, who had 2 lines going across her head. One of the lines stretched sideways, and Suri decided to follow it. That's when she discovered that Young was in a relationship with a teacher. In the following scene, Jimin was introducing a new student, none other than Sin. She went to her desk and sat down. Meanwhile, Hanji was thinking about the killer guy. He then reached Ark High School and met Jimin, and also informed her that he was a detective, and also revealed that he was Sin's uncle. Hanji asked the killer Jung-min whether he always wore glasses. Jimin told him Jung-min never came to school wearing glasses and had left the school some time ago. The scene then cuts to the rooftop where Suri was being bullied by Young. Sin arrived and told Young to stop, but Young grabbed her collar and dragged her to the edge of the building. Sin, holding on to her tie, dangled from the edge and threatened that if Young didn't stop, she would drag her down with her. Young, calling her crazy, let her go and walked away. Suri approached Sin and asked who told her to help. Sin asked if she was still angry with her. Suri told her to mind her own business. Later, Jimin was asking Hanji if he wouldn't meet his niece before leaving. Hanji replied that if his niece found out he was there, she would get angry at him. From the way Jimin looked at him, it was clear she was quite interested in Hanji. As he was leaving the school, Suri saw him and wondered aloud what he was doing there. In the next scene, Hanji was at a bar, asking the bartender about Youngmin. He found out that Youngmin used to come there often, talk to himself, and counted while looking at people. It was revealed that Jungmin also saw the lines on people and used to count them. Hanji was writing all this in his diary. A woman came over and asked who even kept diaries these days. Later, the same woman was taking Hanji upstairs. Meanwhile, Suri was following Young and saw her meeting the teacher. Then, she followed them to a hotel. Before they entered, Suri snapped a photo and sent it to Young. But Young didn't care much, saying it wouldn't affect her and only the teacher would get punished. Suri was then staring at the teacher and an idea popped into her head. The next morning at school, the teacher was present and Suri sent him the same photo, demanding 20 million won immediately or she would show it to everyone. Meanwhile, Young was being scolded by the same teacher. After class, the same teacher came over, and when Young asked why he scolded her so much, he replied that there were people around, so he had to act like that. The teacher brought up the photo and claimed that Suri was behind it all. He appeared very scared and started getting angry at Suri. Sin was quietly observing everything. Later, in the washroom, Sin asked Suri if she had always worn the glasses. Suri lied and said her eyesight had weakened a bit, so she had just gotten the glasses. Sin picked them up and asked if she could see anything through them. She then asked if Suri could see the lines too. Suri replied yes. Sin then asked how many lines were on her head. Suri answered that there was one. When she asked her where she got the glasses from, Suri said that she had found them in her locker. Sin didn't give her the glasses and explained that the man who died near their house was also wearing those same glasses. But despite the warning, Suri still snatched the glasses from her and left. Later, the teacher appeared extremely frightened and asked Jimin about Suri. Meanwhile, Suri was with her boyfriend when she received a message. It was from the teacher, who asked her to come meet him and promised to give her 20 million won. That message made her so happy she almost walked out like she just won a lottery. As she left, Young was secretly following her and keeping a close watch. Then the scene flashed back to a moment in the washroom when Sin was telling Suri everything and Young was hiding inside, eavesdropping like a professional spy. After overhearing the entire conversation, Young stole Suri's glasses and quietly walked out. At the same time, Suri was looking through her bag for her glasses but couldn't find them. Meanwhile, Young, wearing the glasses, started seeing red lines appearing on everyone. Suri called Sin and asked if she had taken her glasses and then yelled at her and told her that she was going to school. When Sin asked why she was going so late at night, Suri ended the call and left. Suri soon arrived at school and came face to face with the same teacher who was apologizing to her. He pleaded with her not to do anything rash, but she reminded him that when everyone bullied her, he just sat there silently. She accused him of knowing everything and still doing nothing. The teacher begged for forgiveness, mentioning his wife and kids, and pleaded with her again to stop. But just then, he received a message on his phone from his wife. She sent him a photo and accused him, saying he was involved in something inappropriate. Furious, the teacher turned towards Suri, filled with rage. Meanwhile, Sin reached the school. As she walked in a bit further, she saw Suri falling from above. Suri hit the ground and died. She was rushed to the hospital while Sin sat outside. Hanji arrived there and Sin told him everything. He asked what she was doing at school so late at night. Sin told him Suri had called her and said she was going. Hanji asked what Suri was going to do there. Sin replied she didn't know, only that she followed her. But one thing she said was absolutely clear. Suri couldn't have committed suicide. Someone else had to be behind it. The next day, the principal was yelling at school, asking about the teacher who was supposedly having an affair with Young. He started blaming everyone. One of the teachers stood up and asked what they had even done and insisted it wasn't their fault. That sparked an argument and the other teacher stepped in to calm things down. In the middle of all this, one teacher dropped a book and the music teacher came over and picked it up. Sin entered her classroom, where the students were complaining that the day was boring. Because apparently, their daily hobby of bullying Suri was missing. One student even asked, "Why did she do it? Why did she jump?" On the other hand, teacher Jimin told everyone that Suri was in her class and she should have taken better care of her, but the other teachers reassured her that it wasn't her fault and told her to stop blaming herself. Then, teacher Gungu was shown. Another teacher teased him and asked when he would get married, reminding him that he was going to propose. But Jang-gu replied he had no intention of getting married anymore. After that, Jang-gu went to visit his sister, where her daughter was also present. He asked about her husband, Sung-chul, and she told him that he stayed very busy. She then asked Jang-gu if it was true that he planned to quit teaching and become a truck driver. Jang-gu nodded in agreement. Later, Hanji was sitting in the hospital next to Suri while Sin was watching him from outside. The next morning, Sin went back to the same rooftop where Suri had fallen. There, a girl named Jimin showed up and told Sin she knew she was looking for evidence. She mentioned Young and said she used to bully Suri and maybe she was the one who pushed her. She also pointed out that Young hadn't been to school in the past few days. While the two were talking and walking inside, Sin told her that Suri was still alive, she hadn't died. But right then they saw the former student president Jing Sung standing in front of them. Sin was staring at his glasses. She took them off and started inspecting them, but quickly realized they were just ordinary glasses. Jang-koo later returned to his seat and saw the glasses lying there. He wondered who had left them. He asked Jimin, who picked them up, examined them, and then handed them to him, saying they'd look good on him. As soon as he put them on, he started seeing a bunch of strange, S-shaped lines all over. He had no idea what they were. Just then, Hanji entered the room, saw the S lines on his head, and freaked out. Jung-koo took the glasses off immediately. Hanji then asked Jimin about Suri. She apologized and said she should have paid more attention to her. But Hanji insisted that Suri didn't kill herself and asked where the bullies were, whether they had even come to school. Jimin said no, they had all disappeared. Hanji then showed her a photo and asked who the boy in it was. His name, she told him, was Jeong. Hanji went to Jeong and got straight to the point, and he asked what was going on between him and Suri. Jeong replied there was nothing between them, but Hanji showed him a photo and repeated his question. Jeong admitted he didn't want to be involved and said it was Serge who insisted. She took him to a hotel. Hanji then asked if anything unusual happened when they went to the shop. Jeong paused to think and remembered that she was looking for something and then suddenly ran off. After this, Hanji was watching the CCTV footage and saw that someone was stealing Suri's sunglasses. In the next scene, Jang-gu was shown having a meal at home with his sister and brother-in-law. While eating, Jang-gu noticed multiple S-lines floating over their heads, including one above his sister's. His brother-in-law Song-chul asked why he had canceled the wedding and what exactly happened. Jang-gu explained that the person he was supposed to marry was actually seeing someone else. That dropped a silence over the dinner table like a rock in a pond. Later, in the elevator, Jang-gu stared at the S-lines above Song-chul's head. They went down, talking about work, and when they came back into the elevator, Song-chul hit the 5th floor button and again mumbled something about being drunk and changed it to 6. But as soon as Song-chul looked away, Jang-gu sneakily pressed 4. When he got off, he noticed an S-line leading into a room. He was about to leave when Sung-chul stopped him. Elsewhere, Hanji was arguing with his boss. His boss said they wouldn't investigate his niece's case since it was ruled as suicide. Hanji strongly disagreed, claiming it wasn't suicide. The boss told him his hands were tied due to pressure from higher-ups, and even the school labeled it as suicide. Hanji fired back, asking what he would do if it were his own family in question. Hanji then checked Suri's phone but didn't know the password. Meanwhile, Jangbu visited the school and observed everyone closely. Suddenly, it clicked who was having affairs with whom, and he also noticed Jimin didn't have any S-line. Later, he asked Jimin what she would do if she found out someone was cheating on her. Jimin laughed and said she'd enjoy watching the drama unfold like a TV series. Afterward, Junggu returned home with his sister and niece. They saw a package addressed to room 416. He took it upstairs and it was the same room where Song-chul's S-line originated. A girl was walking nearby, talking on the phone, so Junggu quickly ducked out of sight. The girl asked over the call whether the package had arrived. Song-chul confirmed that it did. Later, Jungkook and his sister visited their parents' memorial, and while reminiscing, both broke into tears. The next day in class, students were gossiping over a photo of Young and the teacher, exposing their affair. Later, in the parking area, police arrived because the teacher had committed suicide. A letter was discovered, where he confessed to the affair with Young. His last words were, "Forgive me, I don't deserve to live, I'm ending my life." Hanji found out the body had been lying there for 2 to 3 days. Something felt off to him. Even the way the car was parked was odd. It sat awkwardly in the middle. Meanwhile, Jin and Sin were on their way somewhere and spotted Jin-sung. Jin asked if he wanted to join them for lunch, and he agreed. Jin teased him, asking what had changed. He always used to refuse before, so was he into her now? Jin-sung didn't answer. Jin repeated the question, asking if he liked Sin, and Jin-sung just smiled. The three walked out and saw Hanji already waiting in a car. He told Sin to get in. Jin got angry and threatened to call the police, but Hanji calmly flashed his badge. Sin had no choice but to get in. Hanji started interrogating her immediately, especially about the sunglasses. He mentioned Youngmin also owned the same ones. Sin told him she wouldn't say anything until he brought her those glasses. In the next scene, Junggu was spying on Songchul. He followed him to a hotel and saw several S-lines but focused only on Songchul, who was with a girl helping her wear a necklace. Junggu dialed Songchul and asked where he was. Songchul lied, saying he was in a meeting. Junggu then said his sister wasn't picking up the phone and asked him to check on her. Songchul replied he would take care of it. Later that night, while Songchul was in the hotel room with the girl, the doorbell rang. It was Junggu. He barged in, attacked Songchul, and warned him not to say anything to his sister. Songchul promised to fix everything. Junggu told him to do it quickly or even he wouldn't be able to predict what he might do next. The next morning, Junggu was preparing to go abroad. He spoke to his sister and asked about Songchul. She told him not to worry, he would return in 2 or 3 days. Junggu then visited the school to collect his belongings. While talking to Jimin, he scrolled through a girl's social media profile and noticed she was wearing the same necklace Songchul had gifted. At that very moment, the girl posted a pregnancy photo and Chungku took off running. He reached a location where a car was being rammed and realized it was his sister smashing her car into someone else's. The car belonged to the pregnant girl. Just then, Songchul arrived, but instead of going to his wife, he rushed to the other girl. That girl had already reported to someone that a crazy woman had attacked her. Furious, Junggu charged at Songchul and punched him, but his sister stopped him and yelled that the guy's name was Taesik and that he was the pregnant girl's husband. She said she was the one who was just his mistress, not wife. Taesik thought she would harm his pregnant wife, so he stayed close. Previously, she recalled a call from Songchul where he warned her that now that Jungwoo knows about me and Cherry, you better figure out what you're going to do. That night, Hanji was reading teacher's suicide note at the hospital. He went into Suri's room at home and searched for something. That night, Sin was walking home while Hanji sat with a book, looking completely confused and muttering to themselves, trying to figure out what on earth he was staring at. Apparently, everything inside the book was created by Suri. Later, Sin explained to Hanji that what they were looking at was called an S-line, a strange sort of glowing thread that appeared above a person and, through it, one could tell who they'd been physically involved with. Anyone wearing a certain pair of glasses could see these lines. She also mentioned that she suspected Suri might have seen someone and that maybe the same person pushed Suri. The same night, Sin looked at Suri and right at that moment, her S-line vanished, indicating she died. She let out a scream, but it turned out she was just dreaming and had fallen asleep in class. Meanwhile, a teacher was being scolded by another teacher for not finishing her tasks, which, and judging by her expression, felt like being roasted over a slow fire. It turned out she too possessed the glasses and could see the S-lines. Later on, the group was in the cafeteria, eating together. The new teacher, Sion, declared that she wanted to become an actor and called it her dream. While they were chatting, they spotted the music teacher and started admiring how handsome he looked. Someone even joked about asking whether he had a girlfriend, and Sion couldn't take her eyes off him, like a cat discovering laser pointers existed. That night, Sion arrived at the same hotel where Sin worked. Hanji and Dongsik were already there, standing in front of a whiteboard like conspiracy theorists, trying to map out what could have happened. Hanji insisted everything was linked to those glasses, explaining that whoever wore them could instantly see people's relationship entanglements. While Sin was working the hotel desk, someone came to check in, and to her surprise, it was her own group of friends. She asked what they were doing there, and instead of answering, they casually sat beside her like it was the most normal thing in the world. Just then, another guest arrived to check in. As Jen looked at the person, she muttered that the face looked oddly familiar. It turned out to be Sion, who went to her room and started mumbling to herself. Later on, Sin and her friends went to the rooftop and spotted Sion there too. Jin, upon seeing her, said she recognized her, that she worked at their school. Sion reached her room and stood quietly by the window, staring out at the world. That same night, Hanji reviewed the case of Sin's parents and recalled the little girl's drawing, from which her mother had deduced that her husband was cheating. That led to the mother murdering him. Later, while sitting with Sin at the hospital, Hanji brought up Sin and said he wanted to know how many S-lines were above Suri. Sin said she couldn't share, that it was personal. She added that she wasn't even sure who he really was, but she was certain he wasn't from their school. Hanji then asked whether more glasses like these should exist. Sin replied that she didn't know. But later that night, when she watched a news segment that seemed related to those glasses, she started questioning herself, whether this technology should really spread. Somewhere else, Sion was listening to music and went to the music teacher's room. They spoke for a while. She asked if he could tell her something about herself. The music teacher replied that he didn't think she wanted to stay there for long, that she wished to become an actor. Sion admitted he was right and asked how he figured it out. At that moment, their S-lines, which had been going in different directions, slowly merged into one. Later, when Sin was about to leave, Jin-sung stopped her and asked if she was heading home. She asked about Jin. Jin-sung said Jin mentioned he had some work. Then he took her near the swimming pool and said he used to swim there. Sin said she didn't want to swim, but out of nowhere she jumped into the water anyway. Thinking she was drowning, Jin-sung jumped in after her, but Sin emerged just fine, and both burst into laughter. Jin-sung wrapped her in a blanket and the two of them sat together, eating noodles. Sin confessed that she was strange, that she could see lines floating above people's heads. Jin-sung joked, pointing at himself, asking, "Like this?" and then asked how many were above him. Sin replied, "There were none, just like Jin." He nodded and said that meant they weren't liars. He added that if she was strange, then he was the normal one, and said he could disappear without anyone noticing. That night, while lying in bed, Sin thought about Jin-sung, and suddenly she saw an S-line glowing above him. At the police station, a girl named Kyusin was being interrogated. When she saw Hanji, she greeted him politely. Dong-sik leaned in and asked Hanji whether he knew her, maybe dated her once. But Hanji denied it. Dong-sik laughed and said they were way too busy to date anyone. Later, Hanji was lost in thought, thinking about Jimin and mentioning that there was someone he was deeply curious about. Meanwhile, Sion was inspecting her hotel room while talking to herself again. She said it was the only room where she felt truly free because there was a hole in the wall, and through it, she could see people getting physically intimate in the next room. This time, someone entered and it was the music teacher, and he wasn't alone. Sion was stunned. The next day, he had another plan in place, and Sion came fully prepared. She spiked the water with something, and when the girl walked into the room, Sion attacked her from behind, tied her up, and took her clothes, so she could go meet the music teacher instead. But the moment she stepped inside, the teacher immediately recognized her and asked what she was doing. As he tried to leave, Sion hit him with a stapler. The teacher, who unknowingly drank the drugged water, was already intoxicated. Later, she dragged him to the bed. His head was bleeding. Even when he seemed to be dying, she didn't help him and ended up being physically intimate with him. Afterwards, she went into the bathroom and injured herself. When Sin came in, she found the original girl tied up, screaming for help. The girl explained everything and said Sin had taken her clothes. When Sin entered the room, she discovered the music teacher's lifeless body. In the next scene, the police were seen investigating the situation, but by then, Sion no longer possessed the glasses. Outside, Hanji asked Sin what had happened inside the room. Sin explained everything, who the person was and how she used to visit this place often. Hanji asked if it was related to the glasses, and Sin nodded. Later that night, Hanji went looking for Sin, then returned to the same hotel room and found a bathtub. He drained it, and once the water cleared, he spotted the glasses. He put them on, and he was shocked by what he saw in the mirror.